Historic moment. King Charles bows to Princess Leonor in rare gesture. They expected ceremony. They expected protocol. They expected every rule of tradition followed to the letter. But what unfolded stunned the world. Because when King Charles of the United Kingdom stood before Princess Leonor of Spain, he did not command respect, he offered it. He bowed. Yes, the monarch of Britain, a man raised in centuries of rigid royal hierarchy, lowered himself before Spain's future queen. A gesture so rare, so symbolic, that it sent shockwaves through Europe's oldest thrones. Why would King Charles break royal protocol? Why would he bow to a younger royal, still years away from her crown? And what hidden meaning lay behind that moment, one that brought Leonor close to tears and silenced courtiers across the room? This was not ceremony. This was history being rewritten before our eyes. The scene began in Windsor, a setting already heavy with meaning. The halls of the castle gleamed with centuries of royal legacy, portraits of queens, kings, and warriors who defined Europe. Every detail of the gathering had been orchestrated, two monarchies meeting not just in friendship, but in delicate balance. On one side stood King Charles, sovereign of the United Kingdom, a man whose reign followed decades of anticipation. On the other side stood Princess Leonor, heir to the Spanish throne, stepping firmly into her role as Spain's future queen. The event was meant to be symbolic, a display of unity between two great houses. Yet no one imagined what Charles would do. As the music softened, and the introductions were made, King Charles looked at Leonor with a gravity that caught everyone off guard. The cameras shifted. Courtiers leaned forward. And then, slowly, deliberately, he bowed his head to her. A bow. Not to a reigning monarch. Not to a sovereign equal. But to a princess. Why? Why would Charles, the symbol of British continuity, show such deference? To answer that, we must look deeper, into history, into politics, and into the personal meaning that ties these two royals together. First, history. The British and Spanish crowns share a complicated past, wars, alliances, betrayals, and marriages that shaped the continent. For centuries, the question of dominance between them was never far from the surface. To see a British king bow to a Spanish princess was not just personal. It was political. A gesture of reconciliation, signaling that the old rivalries had finally given way to respect. But that alone does not explain the intensity of the moment. Because Charles is not known for bending easily. He is, by nature, a man of tradition, careful with protocol. For him to bow, something royals rarely do even to each other, meant something deeper. Observers close to the royal circle whisper that the gesture was not just diplomatic, but personal. Charles, a man who has lived his life under scrutiny, knows the pressure of inheriting a crown. He saw in Leonor not just a princess, but a reflection of himself as a young heir, burdened by destiny. His bow was not only respect, it was recognition. Leonor, still so young, felt the weight of it immediately. Her composure wavered. Witnesses say her eyes glistened, her lips trembled, and she instinctively lowered her own head, as if to share the humility back to him. It was not a scripted moment. It was raw, genuine, human. And yet, this gesture opened a flood of questions. Was Charles signaling something about the future of the monarchy? Was he acknowledging Spain's rising importance in Europe? Or was this a personal lesson, a message to Leonor that true power lies not in demanding respect, but in offering it? Here lies the curiosity loop. Because each answer opens a new layer. If Charles bowed to Leonor, does it mean he sees her as a symbol of the future of monarchy itself? Does it suggest that Spain, under Leonor, may play a more central role than many anticipated? And what does this mean for the fragile balance of European crowns in an age where monarchies are questioned more than ever? The gesture was fleeting, lasting only seconds. Yet those seconds carried centuries of weight. The press seized on it instantly. Headlines blared across Britain and Spain. King Charles bows. 3 words that seemed impossible, until they happened. But the moment was not just about protocol. It was about connection. Leonor, standing tall yet visibly moved, represented something new. A generation of royals raised not only in privilege, but in duty. Charles, weathered by age and experience, seemed to pass her something invisible in that bow, a blessing, a warning, perhaps even a silent prayer. In the days that followed, speculation soared. Some commentators called it a mistake, a break in royal etiquette. Others argued it was deliberate, a masterstroke of diplomacy. But to those who witnessed it, it was clear, the gesture transcended rules. It was a moment of humanity within the walls of monarchy. And so the story unfolds. Why did Charles bow? Because in Leonor, he saw not just a princess, but the embodiment of monarchy's fragile future. A young woman who will inherit a Spain at a crossroads, modern yet traditional, European yet fiercely national. A country where the crown must prove its worth daily to survive. Charles knows this. He has lived it. And in bowing, he showed her, and the world, that strength is not diminished by humility. It is revealed through it. Yet even as the applause faded, the curiosity continued. What did Leonor feel in that moment? Relief, gratitude, or the crushing awareness that her destiny is no longer her own? Those tears in her eyes were not just for the gesture, but for what it symbolized, the passing of weight from one monarch to the next generation. This moment will be studied in history books, remembered not for speeches or signatures, but for a single bend of the head. It showed that the monarchy, though ancient, is still capable of surprising the world. And so we return to the image, the King of Britain bowing to Spain's future queen. A moment so rare, so unexpected, it captured hearts far beyond the walls of Windsor. Not just because it was protocol broken, but because it was humanity revealed. And in that humanity, both crowns found something greater than tradition, they found hope.